Hello everyone, I'm Movie Man with you. Today I'm going to talk about the British psychological horror film, Censor 2021. At the beginning of the film, we meet the main character, Enid Baines. She works for the British Film Classification Board. The fact is that films and now are subject to strict censorship, which makes up this board examine them and cut certain fragments, or ban the whole film altogether. They also have the power to set age restrictions. It is believed that violence in movies will lead to the inevitable collapse of society, because movies are seen by children who should not be shown horror and erotic moments. Besides, adults may take example of favorite movies and literally go crazy, repeating scenes of violence in real life. Enid is incredibly cold-bloodedly looking through all the suggested sequences and making notes on her sheet of paper. The girl often sits up late at work and gives herself over to her work. She writes out the sordidest moments and delivers her verdicts on them and has practically no privacy. In the morning, she arrives at work, inspects the films, and drives back. At home, she sleeps, eats, and does it all over again. Enid is convinced that her job is to save people and the future of humanity in general. She is fully convinced she is censoring cinema and believes she is doing the right thing. She isn't alone in this office. Her colleagues watch movies all day long, but they admire Enid's work and point out that she watches the most violent movies without any disgust. One day, a colleague asks for her help to type up some film manuscripts because she's already late for an important event. Enid happily agrees to help because she's in no hurry to get home, and when she finishes, her parents call her and tell her that they have reservations tonight at a restaurant. They want to have a serious talk with their daughter, and the girl goes to a restaurant, but the evening does not promise to be the most pleasant one. The fact is that Nina disappeared when the girls were little. Enid can't get it out of her head and blames herself for her sister's death. She has no way of remembering what happened on that terrible day. Until then, the girl had been reported missing, but now she might have been declared dead during a conversation with her parents. Enid claims that her sister might still be alive. She thinks someone kidnapped her that night, but she can't remember anything in particular. The girl scratches her fingers in excitement. Talking to her parents will make her terribly uneasy. Her mother tries to talk about work and asks what her daughter saw in the movies today, but Enid replies that her job is not entertainment, but a serious job of saving people. The next day, Enid is summoned to the director's office, and the company is in a scandal. She has recently seen a film where a man kills his wife and soon eats her face. Unfortunately, it is repeated in life. The man has killed his wife and soon kills his own children as well. The killer now claims he has no memory of it. Journalists, of course, link this news to the film and wonder why it hasn't been banned if it has such an impact on the public. Anita's colleague tries to justify his actions and explain his point of view, but the boss gets angry because they have to deal with it, and they get blamed for the unpleasant incident. The girl herself is quite pained, but can't even get into the root of the problem properly because she is reeling from the memory of her sister. She remembers them wandering through some dark woods together on a tragic day. The boss calls out to Enid and asks her to cut out everything that seems even the slightest bit violent or disgusting. The girl's life turns into a real nightmare as journalists get wind of who the film is that has missed wide distribution. They call her on the phone, threaten and insult her, and wish her the same fate as the woman who was murdered after watching the film, and the press won't let the girl pass on the street and demands that she give even the slightest comment. A little later, it turns out that the killer hasn't even seen the film. But who would believe it? The girl can't concentrate properly on her work. She has to concentrate for a long time, and she has to type several times. One day, producer Doug Smart comes to their office and pays her attention. He praises her beauty and says he is fascinated by her. In case the girl gets tired of digging in hardcore cinematic scenes, she can go to him for a movie. Enid declines the offer rather sharply. Then the man informs her that director Frederick North has personally requested one of his old films, Don't Go to Church. The girl has not seen this author's work before. Colleagues say they are characterized by a piercing violence, but this has never frightened or bothered the girl. She undertakes to watch the proposed film together with another member of staff and notices that the events shown are parallel and flashback to her sister's disappearance. In the film, we see two girls playing in the woods. One makes the other spin on the spot for a long time and then enters an old abandoned house. Later, one of the girls brutally massacres the other, putting an axe in her back several times. This picture stirs Enith's mind. The images are intertwined with memories and make her perceive everything she sees as reality. For the first time after watching the film, a colleague approaches her and says that she can always rely on him. He is sorry that journalists always pursue her. The man tells her that he recently lost his mother and understands the depth of the girl's grief. He suggests they go out for a drink and forget themselves, but Enith still stands pensively and looks at the guy. She politely refuses him because her thoughts are occupied with this painfully clinging story. Enith thinks that the girl who plays in the film is her real sister who survived. The girl continues to have visions and nightmares. She calls her mother and tries to tell her about the film she saw at work, but cannot get a word out. The girl feels that her parents blame her for Nina's loss. Her mother tries to calm Enith down, but she continues to fidget, and at night, she has a nightmare in the same woods in a cabin where she sees a maniacal man abusing her sister. The next day, Enith tries to find out more about the director of Don't Go to Church. At her firm's office, she gets no information, so she goes to one of the cassette shops where she buys North's banned film under the table. Enith notices that the main character, Alice Lee, resembles her missing sister. She looks at the film over and over again and realizes she couldn't be more wrong. An excited girl goes to visit her parents. She doesn't know how to start a conversation, but she tells them why she's there. Enith shares an observation with her parents that the actress Alice Lee is her sister. Nina is not missing, but simply living a different life. The parents are horrified to deny this version, saying their daughter won't listen to them at all. That night, the girl can't sleep well either. In a dream, she sees Alice Lee. She's sure it's her sister. The little girl stands outside the cabin in the woods and watches as the man takes Alice inside. The heroine runs to the cabin to save her sister, but suddenly everything disappears. Soon, the girl finds the address of the very producer, Douglas Martha, who works with North. It is quite late. It is dark outside. She comes to the producer's house. The man is somewhat surprised by the visitor, but gladly lets the girl in. He thinks that Enith has finally decided to star in his movie and has come to seduce the producer to get the part. But the girl once asks him about Alice Lee. Doug says that this actress will soon have her last scene because her hour is coming. The girl gets worried. She thinks the director wants to do something awful and irreparable to her. The girl believes it's her sister and therefore worries even more. The producer, meanwhile, starts to pester her and Enith asks him to stop it. Doug is quite surprised, because he does not understand why the girl has come to his house then. Enith has to push the man away. He falls upon the statue he showed the girl earlier. It pierces through him and now sticks out of his throat like a spear. The man slowly dies, spitting blood, but the girl now knows that director North is shooting a sequel to Don't Go to Church not far from there, and finally loses her head. She spends a restless night at home, and in the morning she goes to work even though she can't concentrate at all and only disturbs her colleagues. Enith breaks into the archives and steals the address of the set where Alice Lee is working on her latest film. Grabbing this file, she flees the office, gets in her car, and drives to the film's set. On North's set, she is met by a girl, Debbie, who is apparently a makeup artist, and mistakes Enith for one of the actresses who will be involved in the next scene. Debbie invites the girl to follow her in order to tidy up before the shooting. Enith is forced to change her clothes. She is also given the right makeup and blood for realism. The girl, on the other hand, insists she needs to see Alice. Debbie tells her that North has been waiting for the actress and needs to hurry. She's surprised that the producer hasn't come to the scene. He's always been attracted to the bloody scenes before. The girl follows the dark forest to the director, who asks her to pose for the camera. Enith tries to find out what the man will do to her sister because, and it is known that Don't Go to Church 2 is the last film for Alice. She asks where the director got the idea for the film from. North replies that he has always been inspired by real stories. People often call him violent, although everyone's reality is far more violent. The director demands that the girl start acting on camera, and if not, she has no place on the set. Then Enith obeys because she thinks she will soon see her sister. The shooting begins. Enith goes to a cabin in the middle of the forest where the lights are on. She grabs an axe and goes inside. There, a big scary man approaches her, who hugs the girl, saying he's been waiting for her for so long. He goes off somewhere, and a moment later returns, pulling Alice Lee by the hair. In the script, the maniac asks Enith to show her dark side, to unleash her true self. Enith grabs an axe in her hand and hits the man in the stomach with all her might, as if someone is speaking from the chopped abdomen. "It's me. Your nightmare. Panic ensues on the set. Alice screams and cries. A man has just been murdered in front of her. A bewildered director walks into the cabin. Enith shouts that North is to blame and in short order blows his head off with an axe. Alice runs down into the woods to escape the hot hand. Enith rushes after her. She catches up with Alice and tries to explain that they are sisters. She keeps saying she has come back for her Nina, who was tortured by a vicious maniac. But Alice has no idea what she is talking about, but it is definitely not Enith. And the man she killed was her good friend in real life. Enith falls to the ground and begs Alice to be her sister. She begins to delirious, as if she pulls a remote control out of her pocket and turns on a movie. There, the girls escape from the maniac's hut. They are happy together. Enith takes her sister to her parents' home. Meanwhile, they are joyfully coming out of the house and waving to their daughters, smiling sincerely. Occasionally, the frame starts flashing and more violent and sad scenes emerge, where Alice asks to be rescued from Enith. And in a delirium, Nina runs to her parents to hug everyone happy and contented. In the last scene, a cassette tape comes out of the VCR with censor written in red. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Don't worry, my videos won't make you go crazy. I appreciate the likes and subscriptions. See you again soon. Bye, everyone.